you went undercover to Gujarat to do this story. Can you tell them a little bit about how it was and what was the danger? I mean, it must have been incredibly brave of you to go into a state which is so should I say anti-Muslim? I don't want to say that like that, but
we have to say it. We have come to that stage. I think we have to say the word Muslim as many times as possible.
Anti-Muslim and also anti-women in many ways.
Absolutely.
What was it like to go undercover there and pretend to be a journalist who was sympathetic to the RSS?
So for all the young journalists sitting here, one piece of advice: never go undercover. Okay, it's going to wreck your life. Okay, it's going to destroy everything. It's going to destroy your peace of mind, not just because of what the government does to you, but also I was Maithili Tyagi, this young Hindu American girl who spoke with a fake American accent. I had this French guy with me from Sciences Po who became my first assistant director. I had 8 cameras on my body. I was going to everybody, including Amit Shah. I met Amit Shah in Gujarat Bhavan. I met Modi twice, and
which year was this?
This is 2000. I met Modi in 2011 January, and rest of the sting operation was done between, I think July is when I got Amit Shah arrested with my call records, and I think September is when I went undercover with all these cameras on my body. The interesting bit is when I met Narendra Modi. Okay, so I'm Maithili Tyagi, and this guy with me is this French guy. And my hair is tied, I'm wearing these green lenses. I've got this visiting card, says Maithili Tyagi, American Film Institute Conservatory. So Mr. Modi is very impressed. So the moment we walk into his room, I mean, he speaks fluent English by then. I mean, this is a lot of public posturing that he doesn't speak English. So there are books by Swami Vivekananda and Barack Obama on the table. So I see it, and my colleague, who's a French guy, he says, Mr. Modi, you are everywhere in Gujarat. In the auto, you are there. The thing with, I'm sorry I got a white guy with me because Mr. Modi loves giving access to white people in his office. Back in the day, he was like, he wanted the diaspora to, and we told him that we are making a film on the Indian diaspora who's living in America, who are so fond of you. And he says, Maithili, and he asked me about my family. And so I only wore my watch that day. The watch bit had a camera in it because I was just testing waters that day. And he said, he pointed to the book by Barack Obama on the table. He said, Maithili, I want to be like him. And my colleague wanted to laugh, and I'm like, don't react, don't. And then he said, you have to eat lunch. And then he had an OSD, the officer on special duty, called Sanjay Bhavsar. So he said, Sanjay Bhai, he called him in, he said, Maithili, in Gujarati, he said, give her access to all the file footage and all the magazine and all the coverage. So I go and sit with the OSD. The irony of it, I'm sitting with him, with my colleague, French colleague Mike, and there is a copy of Tehelka on the table. And I'm like, shit, this is going to be really dicey. Does he know who I am? So I said, sir, what is this publication? He's like, they all write, they do hit jobs. I mean, in Gujarati, he said they do hit jobs on the Prime Minister all the time. And I am from Tehelka, right? And so he said, Mr. Modi has said that you should come on Sunday to have dinner with him. And I called up my editor. Back in the day, my editor was Tarun Tejpal. Of course, we know what he did. And that's when I resigned. But and then he said, we're not doing this investigation any further. By then, we had already done the other parts of the sting operation. And one more important incident that happened is, I was interviewing this woman, police officer called Usha Rada, who was in the state anti-terror department, and this man called GL Singhal, who was one of the top officers in the Gujarat anti-terror squad. So initially, when I went undercover, I would not tell them, I would not talk about the subject at all. We would talk about Osho because I knew Singhal was a fan of Osho, had done my homework. I would smoke a cigarette with him just to put him at ease, talk about family. And then he spoke, when you get layers and layers of content when you do this kind of investigative journalism. Singhal said in that moment that I'm a Dalit man, and when I was growing up, they would not let me get into a general store or touch a bottle of chocolate, and they would slap me. So now when I'm in this position of power in the ATS Maithili, I feel the power. So I said, yeah, I know you remember, there's a news in the newspapers about some girl called Ishrat Jahan. So Ishrat Jahan, if you don't know, was this woman that Modi killed in an extrajudicial encounter, calling her a Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorist. The irony there, I mean, there's a one piece of interesting fact which your generation might have forgotten. Mr. Modi did a press conference back in the day when Ishrat Jahan was shot dead. And on the road, her body is lying. She's a Lashkar-e-Taiba operative. And guess what? Her college I-card is in her neck. A Lashkar-e-Taiba operative goes about killing people with her college ID from Khalsa College around her. And Gujarat journalists were reporting it verbatim. Right? So Singhal says, oh, when I shot the girl, I didn't know who she was. Straight in the face, right? And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I have got some of the most damning revelations. I met the inspector who was investigating the Hareen Pandya murder. Now, Hareen Pandya was a rival to Prime Minister Modi in Gujarat, who was shot dead allegedly by Muslim guys, Muslim terrorist in Gujarat. The police officer said that the day Hareen Pandya was murdered, the guy who murdered him was released from the jail that morning. Now, this was damning. Everybody knew. Hareen Pandya's wife would come to me and say, my husband is murdered. Everybody in the state knows this. And I'm like, okay, this is damning. And when this goes out, when this is published, Mr. Modi's career is going to be over. All right? I come back to Tehelka, everybody is like, no, I think this is going to get us in trouble. And I'm like, dude, we have always been in trouble. We are Tehelka, we have done operation, we have done the defense scams, we have done sting operations. Why do you have a problem in this investigation? It went back and forth. I went to publishers, I went to Indian Express. They said, oh, we don't carry sting operations. And I'm like, seriously, you don't carry sting operations?
Indian Express.
Indian Express. Do you remember the number of sting operations the Indian Express has carried? I went to almost every television news channel, including to Arnab Goswami. I called him, desperation levels, right? He was with Times Now then. I mean, this is pre-Modi years. I called up everybody and nobody carried it. Then I said, okay, let me just go to publishers. I went to publishers. I remember I went to this one publisher in Delhi. The moment I went to her, that very evening she called up Tarun Tejpal saying, your reporter was here to write a tell-all book. The book was scuttled there itself. Finally, in 2016, by then I was blissfully unemployed. I had 40,000 rupees in my bank account. I resigned from Tehelka in 2013. And my mother had some gold left for my marriage. I think she had kept, good old mothers. I'm like, listen, I don't think your daughter is ever getting married. How about putting this gold to good use? So I took a gold loan and I published about 300 or 400 copies of Gujarat Files. It was a self-published book with a lot of grammatical errors in the book. If you have read it, you will know what I'm talking about. I published it, and in the hall in that evening in Delhi at India Habitat Center, I think, for a space meant for 100 people, there are about 600 people. The top of the Delhi, like Delhi had never seen a book launch like that. I got a standing ovation on the panel with me. No, don't clap yet. The story is coming. Don't clap yet. So on the panel, there is Rajdeep Sardesai, and there is Indra Jaising and Hartosh Singh Bal and me. And everybody is like, one publisher stands up and says, why didn't you come to us? So I'm like, okay. The book is self-published, you can still publish it. And the publisher just went quiet, okay. I'm getting a standing ovation, all the editors are messaging me, what you have done is unprecedented, nobody has done this. I'm like, this is going to be the headlines in all newspapers tomorrow. Now you know what happened the next day. Nobody covered it, right? The book was only popular thanks to social media. So before Elon Musk came in, there were things that social media did that helped us.
But it was a bestseller, wasn't it?
For once, it toppled Chetan Bhagat's book.
That's
for once it did. So I think we sold about, till today, we have sold about 7 lakh copies in 13 languages. For a self-published book, I think it was a big feat. But yes, when I came out of the sting operation, I think what it did to me for a couple of months is the anxiety attack started, and then the idea that I was Maithili Tyagi, I had conditioned myself so much to being Maithili Tyagi that if anybody called me Rana, I would not respond to Rana. I would only respond to Maithili. So to come back and start responding to Rana and forget Maithili was a big... I think I was dazed, I was depressed, I didn't know what was happening to me. And to top it all, when your organization says you're not going to publish the investigation, it's literally the death of a journalist. You feel responsible for it. You feel that probably I have not done enough. Probably I could have done more. Probably I am not a good journalist. There's self-doubt that comes in. And then the knowledge and the understanding that at some point the people you have done a sting operation on will know who you are and they will come after you, which eventually happened when I released the book. So yes, it was a challenge, but on a very grim note, I'm going to tell you a very interesting episode from Gujarat File. There's an officer called Usha Rada. She was very fascinated with Americans. She wanted to go to and settle in New York, okay? So every time Mike and I would go, she would treat us to all the Gujarati delicacies. So one day, I had a kurta, a Kashmiri kurta with a camera stitched inside. It was green kurta. And a lot of police officers always ask me, why do you always wear this kurta? And I'm like, it's my favorite kurta, you know. My mom got it. It's memories of my mother. It was the only kurta with a camera. So I'd sometimes team it up with a pashmina shawl. So I am all ready, the camera. So the thing is, you can record max 2 to 2.5 hours with that camera. So, and there is a button towards the end of the kurta. So you have to kind of press it, and then somehow you have to peep in because that's when the red light goes on, and then you know the camera is on. But after 2 or maximum 3 hours of recording, it starts getting really hot there. So you have to kind of keep doing this, okay? And people are wondering that in this cold weather, why is she doing this? So I'm going to Usha Rada, I'm talking to her, then she says, Maithili, we're going to watch a film today, and I'm all prepared to grill her. So she takes me to a movie hall, and the movie that is being shown, there is a film called No One Killed Jessica. That film was made on a Tehelka investigation. The irony does not die here, okay? And we are about to get into the theater, and there is this metal detector, and we are about to cross. And I'm like, if these guys check me, this is going to start beeping. And I'm going to be caught because they're going to ask what is here, right? And at some point, call it divine intervention, call it what you may. Some police officer looks at Usha Rada and says, "Arey, madam, you come from this side." So we didn't have to go through the security detector. And then we go in, we're sitting. So it says, acknowledgement me, it says, thank you to Tehelka. And then she says, Maithili, our Tehelka, in Gujarati she says, our Tehelka ma log, these Tehelka people are bastards. I said, okay, what do they do? She's like, they put cameras on their body and record people. And I just didn't know. I didn't know if I had to. I was living a nightmare, and I'm supposed to live the nightmare with a straight face. And the fact that something was going in, that I was feeling that fear, is when I realized I did not get my periods for 6 months. So the body kept account, right? I might have thought that I am not feeling the fear, but I did not get my periods for 6 months, and that's when I realized something was wrong with my body, because I was internalizing that fear, because in my head I had told myself that I'm not allowed to feel the fear. I cannot show my reaction to people. There was this very well-known lawyer in Gujarat who's fighting all the fake encounter cases. And I was sitting with this police commissioner, P.C. Pandey, okay? I did not know P.C. Pandey is friends with this Gujarat lawyer. So I am sitting in the house, and P.C. Pandey, the commissioner of police, Modi's second, I think he was literally the one taking orders from Modi. So I see this lawyer coming, and I see P.C. Pandey, and I'm like, this lawyer knows me as Rana Ayub. What do I do? This is me, this is going to be busted. So what do I do? So then I'm like, Mr. Pandey, I think I want to throw up. Can I use the washroom? He said, yeah, what? And he calls his wife. I go into the washroom and I put my finger in and I start making that noise and I'm vomiting, whatever. And then I am not leaving the washroom. And then his wife, Kumkum, I don't remember what her name was, she knocks on the door. I said, ma'am, can you give me a blanket? I'm freezing, I'm shivering. It was hot, okay? And I am in the blanket for 2 hours till Sheikh did not leave. All right? So, which is why I'm saying do not do sting operations. It's not good for your mental health. It's not good for your physical well-being. I only did that sting operation because I had no alternative left to investigate the case by regular journalistic means. In an ideal world, I would not be doing it as sting operation. And I really say that keeping all the ethics in mind, I don't think it's an ethical practice. I do feel sometimes for the people I did a sting operation on, because somewhere, some people, good people, who did not have the spine to speak the truth. I don't know, but it was the only thing that could have brought the truth of Gujarat out. Did it? I don't know, but I did publish. It's off my conscience. I have given it to the world. Now it's up to the world to decide what it does with the truth.